Hello, everyone. It is great to be here, and I am really excited to share with you tonight some of the broken down details and lies of our good friend Gayland Gieger. He's just one of the biggest hypocrites and liars, and apparently he sleeps well at night. I don't know quite how he can do that, but. Um, as we this is a video that I had shared with everyone. I think it's probably been about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, and it was a presentation that Galen did for the Court Reporters Association in Oklahoma City, and it looked like a phone recording of the presentation, so it wasn't really a great presentation to begin with, or quality. So what I decided to do, actually, it was Kay was the one who suggested it, and I really thought it made a lot of sense, and it was a really good idea. I do want to say hello to Darkside. I'm so glad that you joined us here um, this afternoon. It looks like we have a pretty small crowd so far, and that's okay. Um, but folks can watch it back on whenever they're able to at another time. So Alice and whoever else might be here watching and lurking, that's great. And So I want to welcome Alice back and Katie back. I appreciate you guys both for being here and helping us to go through this. And Cherie, if you're here, drop in. Go ahead and drop in. I see you in the chat. So the link is in our group in Discord. So grab it and jump on in. Roxanne, it's great to see you as well. And she's at work. It says I'm at work. Service might cut in and out. What's up with you, girl? I'm glad to have you guys here. Anyway, so what I decided that after Kay made the suggestion to me, is to kind of break down. Jet, will you close my door, buddy? Sorry. To break down that video that I shared with you guys a little while back. And so I took it to heart, and I sincerely, for about the last 2 weeks, I've been working on it. And what I decided to do, because I can't do anything the easy way, or I have to make things difficult. But I want, first of all, before I get started, Kay and Alice, love for you guys to say hello to everyone. So
Hello, everyone.
thank you. Alice, how have you been?
Yeah, not too bad. Like yourself, just getting back into doing videos.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be back here with you as well.
Thank you. It's crazy because I was trying to, gosh, I can't remember how to do this part, and I can't remember how. It's not hard to operate inside of StreamYard at all, and the whole screen share thing has become very easy as well. And I just was like, oh, I don't know if I remember how to do this. Hang on, I got to think about it for a minute. But it just takes a couple of times, and I will quickly apologize for kind of dropping out of off the grid for a while without really saying much to anybody. But had some stuff I had to take care of, and that was what was important at the time. Um, so anyway, back to this video. I took it to heart. I took Kay's suggestion to heart, and I thought it would be a good idea because it was really hard to understand the voices, or his voice, and all the things that he was saying and stuff. To It was really kind of hard to understand some of the things that he was saying. So what I did was I've created subtitles for you guys. Now that might not sound like a big deal, and I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but it has been quite the undertaking. But it really does make it more effective and easier to understand, obviously, what he was saying. But Kay had suggested, pointing out the lies and the half truths and the digs and the comments, that he would make. And so that's kind of what I've done. And I found what I decided to do was to do it in 2 parts. So tonight we're going to do what I guess like part 1 or episode 1, and we'll it's kind of just going to be the introduction of the video, and we're not going to really get into any of the accusers' stories or accusations or anything yet. I did start a little bit with Janie Liggins, but we'll do the next time. We'll get into more of the investigation and prosecution, or trial and everything, and I think we'll see a bunch. Well, I know we're going to hear a bunch of lies in that. So, what I'm going to do, and I've asked Alice and Kay if they have any comments during this video. It's only about 17 or 18 minutes long, but I've asked them to if they have any comments or questions or corrections that they need to make that I've typed. To just ask me to pause it, and we'll pause and discuss if that's what we need to do. And yeah, so without further ado, as they say, I'm going to go ahead and get this started. And I hope, if nothing else, I hope it's entertaining watching me try to make all of this work together. So here we will go.
Okay, so now equal time. You've heard the Innocence Project, I guess, all morning, which it sounds like obviously there's some cases out there that we need to look at. Unfortunately, especially during Mr. Prater's tenure as the District Attorney in Oklahoma County, we have prosecuted a lot of authority figure cases. For example, we prosecuted a district court judge, some state legislators, more attorneys than I want to even talk about. Police officers have been involved in most of these, and of course, that, if you don't know who he is Officer Daniel Holtzclaw. Okay, the last thing I need to do is put a whole lot of effort and a whole lot of time in the case and frame somebody who did it. It just doesn't happen in my experience. It's just not my experience. I got enough to do, okay? I don't need to fake cases, I really do. So, with that being said, that's why that slide's there. You can read that and you can soak it in. High-profile cases are tough. They're tough for the elected DAs, and they are tough for the prosecutors who have them. And so what my boss has stressed to us, and what I would stress to other prosecutors out there, that there's not any in this room, but our position is this: you just have to do the right thing, and you let the chips fall where they may, okay? The rules are different for the defense bar, okay? And I'm assuming you know that. The prosecutors, and I'm going to show you here in a minute, prosecutors have ethical standards that do not apply to the defense attorneys, and that's in the law, and that's in the rules of conduct, and that's the way that it is. But there's really no such thing as bad publicity, okay? Because after this case is over, if you don't know who these players are, that's Brian Bates. He is the guy who for years ran John TV, supporting all the poor prostitutes who were being abused. And I don't mean that in a flip way. Running stories about Johns and trying to undercut the prostitution business in Oklahoma City until this case came on. And because that defense lawyer, who I get along with, and who has never lied to me, hired Brian Bates to be his investigator, now everything Mr. Bates believes in about women who are being abused by men is on the other side, and he's teamed up with a reporter who wants to make a name for herself, and she's reported things grossly incorrectly. They've done documentaries on this case. They've gone up to Enid, where Mr. Holtzclaw is from, and they get supporters of his, and there's things on the internet. And that's Mr. Holtzclaw's sister. There's Michelle Malkin with the documentary she's made on Mr. Holtzclaw. You have to get it.
Before I go any further, I wanted to put this in the video, but there's a lot of snark by this jerk in his comments and stuff like that, like showing, you know, a picture of Michelle that's probably in her mind less than flattering, and he does that with Daniel in a part, and it pissed me off, so I just put in a picture over the top of Daniel, because it really pissed me off that he shows such an evil-looking, gross picture of Daniel. So
yeah, I mean, when you played this video before, and trying to make out what he was saying and things like that, you could hear the cattiness in his voice on some of the ways that he was saying it. You know, oh, there's been some documentaries made and she's one of them, sort of thing. You know, that's how it's coming across.
And he said she's trying to make a name for herself, and she already, you know, Michelle Malkin, I mean, you know, he's whatever. He's such an idiot, you know, just Michelle Malkin already had a name for herself. She didn't, you know, wasn't waiting for this to, you know, make anything happen. So whatever.
Exactly.
And then when he said that Brian Bates, you know, he kind of said that Brian Bates flipped it, and now all of a sudden he's on the side of, you know, of the defendant who raped prostitutes and things like that. And I'm like, no. Brian, because as far as I know, and Kay will be able to tell me for sure, I think possibly, but Brian Bates is now starting to, you know, go back, is working on some of the, I don't know if he's still under the name John TV or not, but I think he's kind of gone back to doing some of that work, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
But I really felt like he was dogging when he talked about Bates working, doing the John TV thing that he did. And now he's involved in this case, and it's like he was trying to do the opposite, but then he catches himself and realizes, oh wait, I can't say bad things about the accusers. I need to temper that a little bit.
Yeah, he definitely caught himself, didn't he? That was definitely obvious. Okay, so I just wanted to...
He's still a lying piece of shit.
Oh yeah, he is, for sure.
Well, I love how the way he talks about that he's, you know, the prosecutor has to be ethical, but the defense attorney doesn't have to be ethical.
Yes.
You know, and he's got, Holtzclaw's got all these people up in Enid putting false things on the internet. And point all the things out. Whatever he says, it's going to be the opposite.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to put in the subtitles, because first of all, it's really hard to hear because it's so poorly recorded. But you know, I think when you can see the words too, and hopefully I've got them all, you know, correct. But hi, Nan's Life and Yoris and my big brother Jack is in the chat. Great to see you guys. So yeah, it's I think when you actually add the words to it, it really makes it even more frustrating and disgusting the way he is. So, okay. Like I said, don't hesitate to holler for pause if you want to say something. Okay, here we go.
Okay, this is all comments, all right? So it shows what a sociopath I am, okay, when you actually watch the documentary. Now, Authority figures. If you prosecute these kind of cases, there's some general characteristics, okay? They're usually 25, they live alone, they live with their mom and dad, they're good talkers for the most part. People like them if you come in contact with them. They have limited peer relationships, and they are masters at exploiting legitimate opportunities. Now, when it comes down to Holt's Law, it's interesting because he fits many of those things, but he didn't fit all of those things. But in regards to Mr. Holt's Law, here's the deal. Grew up in a small town in England. Okay? Some of you may be from England. You may have opinions about this case. His father, from all I can tell, is a good guy. He's a career police officer up in Enid, Oklahoma. He was a standout high school football star in England. Because of that, I think it might have affected the way people interacted with him. He played Division I college football up in Michigan for Eastern Michigan University. There he is, making a tackle. He was drafted to the NFL. He did not make the NFL cut, and after that, he then applied to follow in his dad's footsteps, I guess to a certain degree, become a police officer. Applied at Oklahoma City, went through the academy, and was put on patrol. Everything I can tell about is that Mr. Holt's Law was kind of treated as, because he was an athlete in Oklahoma and played football, some of you may be aware of the way our attitudes are about football in Oklahoma, but he was given a lot of special treatment, is what I can tell. Friends and family absolutely refuse to objectively consider the possibility he is guilty. It's just, they have an inability to even acknowledge it's a possibility. That is still. Stemmed, I think, into some of the documentaries and some of the strong opinions people have about this case. I think that's a very minority, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about the case. One thing that I think I can tell you about is that through this investigation, one of the things we did is we learned that in Lansing, where Eastern Michigan University is located, they have an unsolved rape up there. And it happened when Mr. Holt's Law was in high school, was in college. They did a composite drawing because it was a stranger rape. And it is, Mr. Holt's Law kind of has some distinctive physical characteristics in his face. He just is a unique kind of looking individual.
Oh my fucking God, really? Did he actually just say that?
I told you, when you can see the words, it just makes it so much more aggravating and disgusting. He is a pig.
You know what? If he's a unique looking individual, which, you know, I agree that he is an unforgettable individual just because of his size. But what Gayland's saying here is that he has facial features that are unique, that you don't forget. Well, it seems like a lot of the accusers had a hard time remembering what he looked like.
Right.
Exactly.
Good point. Yeah.
Oh my God, man. I can't believe he's just basically accused Daniel of maybe sexually assaulting somebody at college.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think there's going to be some slides that I'll have coming in, but I've done some due diligence, I think, and reached out to some people who might be in the know, and there's not any evidence that we know of a composite drawing and sending his DNA profile up to Michigan, and but yeah, those slides I think are coming. But yes, it was it's I don't know. That just sounds like, I mean, it's a flat out lie as far as I know, and as far as I've researched, as far as I can tell, what he said about all that was a flat out lie.
Can I back up a little bit?
If Daniel had done, sorry, if Daniel had done something like that, it would be on record. You know what I mean? Somewhere he would have had past. What am I trying to think of? You know, he would have had maybe a pattern of this sort of stuff, you know, kind of being not so nice to women and being disrespectful and treating them like a piece of shit and everything like that. But there is none of that. Everybody that people have spoken to in Daniel's past, including ex-girlfriends, have all came out and said what a lovely guy he was and everything like that. You know what I mean? So for him to come out with something like that, oh my God, man, I could not believe my ears. And I'm so glad I never heard that the first time, because I would have been cursing even more than what I am
now. Yeah, exactly. Well, what did you have, Kay?
So they said that, you know, he was a golden boy and given special treatment. You know how things are, how people in small towns treat their football stars or whatever. I mean, although we're not a metropolitan area, we're not a dinky little town by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I don't think population 50 to 56,000 people is really considered a small town, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just from small town and I don't know the difference. The other thing is, Daniel worked at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Daniel, all the kids had to earn their own money. If he was getting preferential treatment, would he need to be working at McDonald's?
Right.
I mean, people were given, what does that even mean? I take that to mean that he was getting things handed to him. He was getting perks because he was a football star.
Yeah, and that he was put on a pedestal, and that he was, you know, it makes him sound entitled. And there's nothing that Daniel has ever said to me in a letter or that I've read anywhere that he was ever remotely entitled. And I wanted to mention, and thank you for mentioning the McDonald's job, because in one of the updates on change.org, and I apologize, I have no links for you guys tonight. I'll try to find some links to share with you. But in one of the updates, he mentions, he actually gives a pretty good bio, and I'll find that and I'll put it in the description. But that his dad said it's either you get a scholarship to college or you're going into the military. That doesn't sound like a golden boy or an entitled, snotty teenager, anything like that to me. That sounds like you're going to work, and you're going to work for everything that you want. So,
I mean, I know when he was playing ball in Michigan that, you know, he was a star. And he's going to be treated. He's going to, he's going to have people coming up to him and noticing him and giving him attention.
Right.
In that sense, is he a golden boy? Well, maybe. He's maybe so, but he makes it sound like Daniel did these things and turned into this monster because of the way he was treated his whole life, because he thought he was all that.
Right. And there's not any evidence of that. So and just so you guys know, to put in subtitles and get them in the exact right spot and all of those things, which I'm enjoying doing, don't get me wrong, but I'm having to listen to this horse shit over and over and over, and I'm so sick of listening to Gieger's lies and snarky comments and just nothing. In fact, that reminded me too, it was another slide I wanted to put in, but when he says that he applied to Oklahoma City PD, and he said something about he wanted to follow in his father's footsteps to a certain degree, or whatever it was that he said. I just thought that you just had to say something snarky about that, that Daniel's dad's a good guy, and Daniel wanted to follow in his dad's footsteps, except for the serial rapist part in him, kind of thing, and I just thought, oh my God, this man.
Whatever, for Christ's sake. I mean, he's in college, he's playing ball, he's in a criminal justice program, which he finished on time.
Yeah.
He had a backup plan.
Yes.
That's just the nature of what he was taught in his family. I mean, he knew that the NFL was, he felt like he could play in the NFL, and he always told himself that he was good enough to do it. And he may have been in the NFL had he gone to, a different school, had he gone to OU.
Right.
And that didn't happen. So, when the NFL dream died, he recalculated and, he started working toward another goal.
Yeah. And that was, and he says in that link that I'll share later, he says that, that was his dream, to be a cop. So yes, he wanted to play in the NFL, but his greater passion also, or side by side, I don't know, I can't measure it, but that was his passion to be a cop. So yeah, he's just Gieger will not miss a chance to toss out any snark that he possibly can during this. Hi, Dr. Silkman. It's great to see you. We're just all playing a little video here and getting pissed off together. So, okay. Let's see. Let's go ahead and start back up.
The composite is a spot-on match. We got DNA in this case that eventually we know Mr. Holzclaw's DNA because we swapped it with God. Our lab in Oklahoma City sent that DNA profile up to Michigan to ask them to compare it to the DNA profile they had on their stranger rape case. And we never got an answer from Eastern Michigan that made sense as to whether or not it was a match or not. Now, I'm not suggesting that the officials that be in Lansing want to protect their football program. I'm not saying that. I don't know that. All I know is that, which is odd to me as a prosecutor, that our repeated attempts to try to get them to give us a clear yes or no, we just kept getting excuses. For example, we use a different test kit than you do, so we don't have the same genetic locators to match. That doesn't make sense. In any event,
What I wanted to say about that, and anybody in the chat or Kay or Alice, either one too, it seems to me that if there was anything was done like that, if they investigating this case, if they sent his DNA profile to another crime lab in another state, wouldn't that or shouldn't that be disclosed to the defense?
You would think so, yeah.
Absolutely.
Whether they got any results or not.
Yep.
So it's either a bald-faced lie, which is what I really think it is.
Well, don't you think his comment speaks to that, Rhonda? His quote is, "We never got an answer that made sense." What the hell does that mean?
Well, and since Dr. Silkman's in the audience or the chat, maybe he can even comment to that what he said about this whatever the genetic locators or whatever didn't match. I mean, that they don't use the same test kit that Oklahoma's crime lab used. That doesn't even make sense to me, and I don't even know anything about DNA and all that stuff. But it doesn't make sense to me that different places, different crime labs use different DNA profile kits. Is it even a kit? I mean,
but that's it though, Rhonda. I mean, it seems to be it doesn't matter what type of case it is. You know what I mean? Whether it's in the US or whether it's here in the UK. If the DNA, if there was any of Daniel's DNA that they could prove was absolutely Daniel's DNA, they would have been shouting about it for the heavens. They would have used it in everything and anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they haven't got jot.
Right.
So these are barefaced lies that
So
he's saying, because it's the same in Luke's case. If they had absolute DNA match, they would have been shouting about it for the heavens. And the fact that there isn't any DNA matches, they just sweep it under the rug in a sense or push it to the side. You know what I mean? If they had any proof of Daniel at all, they would have used it and they'd still be shouting about it, in my opinion.
Right.
So the moral to the story is, if you're a serial rapist and you kind of feel like you've done as much as you can in Oklahoma City, just go to Lansing, Michigan, because you'll never be able to be caught because their DNA kits are different.
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense. And Dr. Silkman just said all DNA genomic profile kits are the same, which he's just flat out freaking lying. And I'm guessing that he probably expected that the only people that were ever going to see this were the Court Reporters Association. But I don't know. This is interesting to me. I mean, I don't know if they can use it or not, if Daniel's team can use it or not, but if they could, they need to find out. Daniel's attorney needs to find out if he needs to request that evidence.
Yeah. But really, I think it's just him shooting his mouth off, trying to sound like the big man, trying to sound and make out he's something that he's not. You know what I mean? And it's all havering shite. That's what he's doing. He's havering a lot of shite, because if that is the case, then yes, Daniel's lawyer should be jumping all over this interview, picking out all the bits that he's saying, and especially this bit about the DNA, and trying to find out if and how and when, and if it's actually true, because this could be a big thing for Daniel if that's the case. And if it's no there and it's a load of nonsense, which we all believe that it is, then he should be put over the coals, because he shouldn't be talking at things like that and spewing a lot of rubbish. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dr. Silkman said these are standards, I believe, are set by the FBI. Well, if this was the case, then what would be the use of having CODIS? If different crime labs were using different kits, and so one can't get a match for another one's profile, then what's the point of CODIS? If, among other things, it's just, oh God. Okay. All right. So yeah, maybe Kay or somebody can shoot an email to somebody, I don't know, and figure out how we can get that lie across to the powers that be. I don't know. It just really upset me though when I heard that 15 times, making the subtitles. I was just furious. So thank you, Dr. Silkman. That's what I thought too. It's a potential Brady violation. If they did do that, right? If he's just lying about it and none of it that is true, then whatever, he's just a liar, and now people, more people are going to know it. But if it's true that he did send Daniel's profile to another crime lab and tried to get it and didn't disclose it to Daniel's attorneys that, hey, we sent this to another crime lab in Michigan, that seems to me like a Brady violation.
Maybe that's what the secret hearing was about, Rhonda. Because Daniel's lawyers weren't even in there.
Right. We know that part of what the secret hearing was about was Campbell Ruddock's, Elaine Taylor's boss, the lab manager, Campbell Ruddock. He was asked to review her trial testimony as a result of Daniel filing his direct appeal. And so we know just from some of the redacted transcripts that Daniel's attorney at the time of the secret hearings, that is what that's about. And then there were also some things that came out in depositions that also confirmed that as well. We have no idea what other things were discussed, so who knows? I just have the sense, Alice, that he's just lying. I mean, he has this whole personality where he pounds his chest and builds things up. I mean, his whole career is about creating a fiction to sell to people. And he's been doing it for a long time, and the lies come easy, and he says it with a straight face.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think he's just trying to make himself out to be the big man when he's really just a little man,
Right. Yeah. Well, and also too, for his audience that he was doing this presentation for, it just, now they're thinking, oh, well, he probably did rape this other lady up in Lansing, and nobody's going to ever know about it because Lansing's not being forthcoming with. It's just a load of horse shit that's really, really frustrating. Yeah. And Dr. Silkman says, correct. You have a select series of loci that have been agreed upon. You cannot just change them. Right. Well, yeah. It's like I said, I do believe this is a lie, but still, and it's just to, and the purpose for it, if he is lying, if he indeed is lying, the purpose of the lie would be to say that Daniel actually started raping and sexually assaulting women when he was in college in Lansing. So this, it's just a way to help him say, yeah, he was, what's the word, progressing or
right.
Yeah. And I think that's what that whole thing is about, is that, he was just progressing, and he was, getting, worse and worse and worse as time went on. And I think that's why, of course, I don't know, but,
Anyway. Doc says, I have a feeling he knows FA about DNA.
That's true. Neither does Elaine Taylor.
Elaine Taylor or Rocky Gregory or Kim Davis, because these are the same people, and he is in the news. We have news clips that I have saved where Gayland Gieger is telling the public on a news report that Daniel's supporters they're suggesting that this DNA got on his uniform pants by transfer DNA or by touch DNA. They're lying because that doesn't exist. We're like, what? So what do you mean it doesn't exist? There is no such thing. Come on. So yeah, he really is just a dumbass. But
the fact of the matter is that Gieger knows that Daniel is innocent. He was a part of this plan to have Daniel be held accountable for this and make these allegations, make Oklahoma City Police Department look like they weren't Ferguson, or choose any other department that was under fire, any other place who got to experience the riots and have their cities destroyed.
Right.
He was a part of this.
Yeah. And I believe he was all too happy to be a part of it, honestly. I think Roxanne said, I think it's a little bit up in the comments, but I think Roxanne said little man syndrome. Yeah. I think it was here. Maybe it was in Discord. I don't know now. But so, yeah, he just, he was really trying to make a name for himself for sure. So, okay, let's see how much. We only got about less than 10 minutes of this first part done. So see how much we can get through and how much more irritated we can get.
In any event, that's why there's that unsolved case there. Okay, that's just filler that you get for price of admission for company. Okay, overview of this case is this: 13 minority females in a very high crime area of Oklahoma City were his victims. All of them were lower socioeconomic. Most of them were drug addicts. Many of them were prostitutes. Most of them had multiple felony convictions. Most of them lived in a cycle of a lifestyle that is this. It is abject poverty, it is lack of education, it is lack of opportunity, and their life is they get up, they do drugs, they hang out, they have sex, they do drugs, and they go to bed. As a result of that, days blend together and weeks blend together, and they all hate the police and they don't trust the police, and it puts them in a precarious situation. Every time a police car comes up, this is most of them, with the exception of one, happen in the area around the Capitol, but to the east of the Capitol, the 23rd Street corridor in that part of Oklahoma City. It's a really, really rough place. That's the precinct that Daniel Holtzclaw worked, and he would come into contact with people. What we learned about Mr. Holtzclaw and what came out in evidence was he was essentially alone. He would go on patrol by himself. Other officers, it's not that they didn't like him. He made lots of arrests. It's just that they just didn't go out with him. His assault started in December of 2013, we learned. The report that started this all happened in June of 2018. I'm going to talk more extensively over that. But as we went back and as we looked at his course of conduct, and as other victims were identified through our investigation, it basically started in 13. It started as manipulation for sexual favors. I'll explain that in a moment. It progressed to just full-on sexual assaults. It climaxed, in other words, it came to an end because someone finally reported because he made a mistake and he did something he hadn't done before. And we realize now that he assaulted 3 women on the evening of June 17th and into the early morning hours of June 18th, 2014. And so it culminated with him committing 3 sexual assaults in one night. And one of those ladies reported. First victim is this, Jamie Liggins, and I'm going to say her name because she's come out very publicly. Jamie Liggins is the one that reported. She's the one that started it. She lives in northwest Oklahoma City with her daughter, but she had gone back to the east side because she grew up the east side. She was very honest. She smoked dope that night. They played cards, but then she stayed at the house until about 2 a.m. Part of the reason she stayed so long is because they were playing cards with an old high school friend, but she wanted to marry. But she wanted the marijuana to wear off before she got in the car and she drove away. Holtzclaw stopped 2 people in automobiles. One of them I'll tell you about in a minute. This is the other. Everyone else were just people who were poor, not enough to even own a car, and he would stop them as they walk around the east side of Oklahoma City. He made a mistake this night. He got bold this night and he messed up. She, unlike the other ladies, did not have a bunch of felony convictions. She had a 20-year-old marijuana possession case. But other than that, she had not continued in the lifestyle that some of the other ladies had. She was leaving her friend's house at 2 a.m., east side of Oklahoma City. Holtzclaw's shift ends at 2 a.m. Police policy is, if you are in a police car, you do not turn off your equipment ever. Because the police cars have GPS in them. And it's officer safety. We want to know where everybody is at every given time. He clocks out about 2 a.m. and turns off his equipment. And then he initiates. And then he initiates a traffic stop about 2:14 a.m. on the east side of Oklahoma City, northeast 50th Street, right where it crosses Lincoln Boulevard. There's Jamie Liggins. Jamie Liggins was victimized by Daniel Holtzclaw, and he was victimized by guys like this. This is Mr. Crump, who is the next Jesse Jackson in his mind, and he goes, and he had nothing to do with her until the verdicts came in. The day after the verdict, he gets on an airplane and he flies to Oklahoma City, and he manipulates her and he puts her on TV, and it's just sad to watch it happen. She asked me about talking to him, and I said, Jamie, don't do it.
All right. So there you go. I felt like I did the entire thing doing subtitles and stuff, but it turned out it was only the first 17 minutes of it. Um, because I just so everyone is aware, um, I, I did cut out a lot of stuff, and yes, I did cut and splice and whatnot. I did that just for time's sake. There not everything that he talked about or said was you know important or pertinent to the goal. So um, at any rate, I'll get the rest of it. Hopefully I can get it done in one part for next time, and I think we're going to have a whole lot more lies that we're going to be able to find.
Can I comment on some of those things?
Of course.
So, number one, he stopped all of his people in high crime areas. Yeah, as Gieger mentioned, Daniel did work the Northeast sector, which was a high crime area. And his mission or assignment or whatever you want to call it, Oklahoma City Police Department encourages their officers, especially in areas like Daniel worked, to do Terry stops. It's something that's bullshit and it needs to stop. But that is what he was directed to do by his superiors. That's what the people in the department were directed to do. He was following his superiors' guidance. And, the profile that Lieutenant Musney created is interesting to me because, so they're saying Janie Liggins was the first to report, which we'll get to that in a minute. That's another interesting comment. And all of the women that he assaulted were prostitutes with felony convictions and drug histories, or a combination of those things. Well, that was the profile, and they pulled up only women who fit that profile and contacted those women. Like Rhonda said, Janie Liggins came forward. Kayla Lyles came forward after it was on the news. And then Shardarion Hill came forward after it was on the news. So 3 people came forward. The others that they sought out were from a list where, from a list of women pulled from the database that had to fit those 3 criteria: prostitutes, felony convictions, drug alcohol histories. So yeah, of course, all the women that they crafted this case from fit those things. There was no other people questioned.
Right.
He's a loner. Daniel spoke to this. Daniel, I mean, I can see why they felt that Daniel was a loner, but the main point that you covered is that, yeah, everyone does solo patrol in Oklahoma City, so you are a loner. Daniel always helped out if there was ever a call where someone was, if he wasn't busy and someone was out on a call that he felt like, hey, there could be problems in that area or whatever, he would be the first to volunteer and get over there. He was always in the mix. He was a hard worker. He had a complaint about people that he worked with. He would say things like, oh, that was a younger officer. It's a good officer. He got into the mix. No, that was a girl. She was super lazy. a lot of people were lazy, and that drove him crazy because he wasn't raised to be lazy. He initiated a lot of stops. He was a proactive officer. He didn't sit in his car and play on Facebook for half of his shift. I liked how I don't know if he ever caught in his PowerPoint that Janie Liggins didn't report in June of 2018, like he says. He should go back through his slideshow and take 4 years off of that.
Yeah.
Back to Daniel being a loner. I think he's insinuating that he didn't hang out after work with his fellow officers. No, he did not. He didn't have anything in common with them, really. He was continuing, he was really focused on competing in bodybuilding, and all of his spare time was devoted to bodybuilding and spending time with Carrie, which she was a bodybuilder too. He had his own group of people that he hung out with. He was definitely not a loner. He says he made a mistake and did something that he hadn't done before. That's interesting. Isn't that Janie Liggins' quote? Did he give her that quote, or did she give him that quote?
Right.
Liggins started it all off. Well, yeah, Liggins reported that, which, we all know how quickly the investigation kicked into high gear when Liggins reported. There was a flurry of activity. It was crazy how many people were involved so quickly, and how quickly that all of the brass got together and made a plan. All of those things, but when nothing came back from Liggins supporting her story, no handprints on the car of hers where she said she put her hands, no handprints on the car where she says he put his hands. The oral wash from the same kit came back negative for his DNA, came back negative for any DNA except for her own. And with all the allegations that they piled on him, and you think back, there should be other DNA on his penis that he put allegedly in her mouth, not just his DNA. Supposedly, he raped Kayla Lyles 20 minutes before, and Adara Gardner a few hours before that. Zero DNA except her own. So, yeah, whatever.
And that's something that I've always found interesting, is that well, actually, I haven't always found it interesting. It's actually only occurred to me within the last several months that if he had vaginally raped Kayla Lyles and Adara Gardner, even though Adara's alleged assault was, several hours earlier, their DNA would have been in Janie Liggins' same wash.
And on his pants.
And on his pants.
Because, I'm sorry, you don't have vaginal sex and receive oral sex. You don't have vaginal sex with 2 women and receive oral sex from 3 women and have no DNA on the fly of your pants or on the outside of your pants. You're going to have stains.
Right.
Yeah, but not even just his pants, though, Kate. You know what I mean? The guy, Christ, he needs to do practically a striptease to do a bloody pee.
Right.
Never mind sexually assault anybody. You know what I mean? He's got big knickers on that come up to his bloody torso, and then he's got braces on that holds his shirt down, then his trousers are on top of that. So you would expect there to be their DNA on his trousers, on his pants, on his shirt, because when he's trying to put his bits back in quickly and all the rest of it, you know, it's going to be messy on the outside, but it's going to be damn hell of a messy on the inside and trying to get everything all back on again.
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
And we did gosh, it's been, I can't even remember how long ago, but we did I shouldn't say we.
No, we didn't do it.
Kay volunteered to do an experiment.
Now, seriously, I recreated these sex acts with my husband in a dark pair of pants. And I'm sorry, man, there's staining on the pants. You cannot do these things like these women said and not have, I mean, you're going to have some white stains on the pants.
There's definitely going to be residue. There was residue. We have pictures of the residue.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't need to do that to know that, but.
Right, but we wanted to make sure that when we said it, we had proof to show how it works. So.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I don't understand is why the hell are you pulling down your own knickers if you're giving somebody oral sex? I was just about to say the B word there, but you know what I mean? Why are you pulling down your own knickers?
Right.
You know, that's what I don't understand. Why is there knickers round their ankles if it was only oral sex?
Right.
Or did you say around the ankles?
I have knickers round their ankles.
The accuser.
I mean, I think those stories changed by the time they got to trial, where no one pulled their pants down.
Right.
Where I think by the time it got to trial, every accuser had come around to say that he, exposed himself from the unzipped fly of his buckled pants.
Yeah. They had been rehearsed.
Well, yeah, I mean, Janie Liggins says he made her pull her pants down, but even that changed by the time.
Do you know,
right?
I wish we had a male volunteer from our community that would get a pair of pants like Daniel had, and the braces, and the shirt, and a pair of trousers, and do what they're trying to say that he's done, i.e., I mean, undo the trousers, pull down the pants, let it all fall out. They can have enjoyment for their girlfriends if they wish. I mean, they probably wouldn't say no, but just to see how impossible it actually is. You know, I'm not a male, so having all that gear on, I wouldn't know. But for what we've seen that Daniel had on, for him taking off his clothes in that interrogation room, there is no way in hell that man has been able to fiddle everything about without being untussled, unruffled, without having to unclip anything, and stuff like that, you know. It's just impossible to me that he's been able to do that with the clothes that he was wearing.
And think about doing that with an erection. Some of the women say he had an erection when he whipped it out. I mean, really? How hard would that be to manipulate that?
I've asked several times for men in my chat to please comment on that, and none of them really want to comment on it. Actually, Jack did say something one time for us. He didn't give any details, but he did comment that there's no way that a man could do that without some discomfort. And
well, I mean, you're going to encounter the zipper in a more vicious way if you are erect. So,
right.
Hey, Corey, to your comment, Daniel's girlfriend basically said that very same thing that you're saying. Why would he? Well, no, I guess that's not exactly what she said. She was saying, I think she said, why would he touch women like these if he was going to be unfaithful, or if he was going to be with other women, wouldn't he find a woman from the north side? Which, I mean, that was not helpful. And I know she didn't realize how that sounded, but it just gave the prosecution a big chance to say it's not about sexual assault, isn't about that. It's about power. So, I mean, that's just something that wasn't helpful at all. But yeah, I mean, Daniel wasn't a player. He always had a girlfriend. He wasn't dating 3 women at once. He always wanted a girlfriend.
Right. Yeah. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, I remember, and I'm probably going to cut that out because he addresses that. Gieger's going to address that in the next part that we do. He really lays it on thick about Daniel's girlfriend, about Carrie, and it's really frustrating. But he does point that out in his little slideshow presentation. So I may cut that out. I mean, I'm really mostly interested in his lies that will take up plenty of time. So.
Oh, I know what else I was gonna. Where I was headed with the whole Liggins. Nothing matched with her story.
Oh,
Because nothing matched with her story, there was no way that the district attorney could file charges against Daniel or anyone for that case. And what was going to happen?
Yeah.
What was going to happen when they didn't file charges, or when they didn't hold him accountable, or when they said, hey, we investigated him, but there's nothing, we can't, there's nothing. We put him on leave for a week and he's back at work.
Yeah,
what was going to happen. Black Lives Matter were going to march down here, and they were going to, they were going to cancel him.
Yeah.
So what did they do? They back up to Terry Morris, and they decide, hey, I know we have this woman who was stopped on May 24th or 5th, whatever it was, and who it was actually a 911 call where the police were being called on her for tearing up her former boyfriend's car. And she says in the 911 call, when she realizes that he's called the police on her, oh, you called the same MFers that already raped me, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And so when they get there, it immediately turns into an investigation to get a statement about her allegations, because it was on a recorded 911 call.
Right.
And so they thought, this is an unknown officer that she's accusing. She swore, she was adamant that it happened on 20th or 21st. And that it happened downtown near the city rescue mission, which they had already pulled all the officers' GPSs to see if any officer stopped in that area on either of those days. She was staying at the city rescue mission on the 20th. They confirmed that, but then they just let it go because it didn't match up with what they needed it to match up with. What else? Oh, so then they, after she signs a refusal to prosecute, they still hound her to be a part of the case. And then when she won't be a part of the case and Janie Liggins stuff isn't going to work out, they know that they can't proceed with this case. They could get all these other women to pile on, but would it really have made sense,
right,
to pile all those women on when this initial person didn't check out? Her allegations couldn't be supported by the evidence. And so they finally just, get her in jail, get her to tell the story that they need to tell. They changed the date to May 8th, which was the date that Daniel stopped her on a Terry stop. And they fed her the story that she needed to say, and they used her. And if they hadn't been able to get her to come along, this case would have never been filed.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Corey commented, when one of them said short black man, why didn't they check that out to see if it was true? Well, that was a real, you could just see I could almost feel the desperateness in Kim Davis's voice when Sherry Ellis was so adamant that it was a black man and that he was shorter than her. And so Kim Davis had to, she knew she had a lot of work to do, but they worked it out and they managed to. Corey, I don't know if you've seen it or not. I have it in my videos on my channel. Have you seen the videos that we've done that I've put together for Tabitha Barnes and Sherry Ellis? They're just little, like 5 and 7 minutes or whatever they are, clips of them recanting and saying things in their deposition videos. If you haven't seen them, go to my channel, or maybe one of the mods can go to my channel and get the links for those videos, and just put them in the chat. And if Corey hasn't seen them, he can look at them, or if anybody else hasn't seen them, they can look at them. But there was, Kim Davis. Well, all of them knew that they had a lot of work to do with Sherry Ellis, because her description of her attacker was completely opposite of Daniel, and they knew they had to fix that. So
they didn't check anything that was exculpatory or that could be exculpatory to Daniel. Anything that was raised that had the slightest possibility of being exculpatory toward Daniel, they would not touch with a 10-foot pole. Why didn't they go get his underwear that he said were in the wash?
Right.
In the washer. They never even went far enough to, all they had to say is, did you already wash them? No, he didn't already wash them. Like bachelors do, they put dirty clothes in the washing machine. That's their laundry hamper. And when there's a load, they turn it on. The underwear were in the wash.
In the wash, and that's what Daniel said. And that's I went just because people were, I kept hearing different people, like different YouTubers and things, well, he'd already washed his underwear. No, he had not washed his underwear. And I went back to the transcript of the interrogation video, and he said they were in the wash, and Rocky Gregory said, "Oh, they're in the wash," and Daniel said, "Yeah," but he never said, "Did you wash them?" Just asked if they were in the washer or the wash. So
yeah, he says, "And what about your underwear?" And Daniel says, "They're in the wash." And Gregory says, "In the washer?" And Daniel says, "Yes."
Right. But yeah, but they didn't, and I just feel like they didn't I feel like they didn't want to. They didn't want to get the underwear.
They didn't want to know the answer. They didn't
want
want
to
him
know
to
that.
say, no, they haven't been washed yet. They wanted to leave it where people could assume that
Right.
they were wet.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, I always bring this up. Monica Lewinsky's dress had been dry cleaned, but they still found DNA on it.
That's right. Yeah, good point. Good point. Corey, yes. A lot of people do think of Alexander Edwards. When I mean, I don't want to make an allegation or make a it had to be kind of thing, but it was a Denny. Oh, they don't call it Denny. Oh wait, yeah, no, they don't call it Denny in Oklahoma. Crap, what do they call it in Oklahoma? Well, anyway, the equivalent of a Denny suspect.
Well, he should have been investigated.
Yeah, and he wasn't investigated. But
we want to see his GPS.
Yes, absolutely. I'm certain, and I don't know where I read it or where. I just am almost certain, though, that there was some gore suspect. That's right, Shuri. Yeah, in Wisconsin, it's a Denny suspect. Somebody else who could possibly have committed the crime. But in Oklahoma, it's a gore suspect because those are the two case names that they were. At any rate, they didn't investigate, and it all goes back to the tunnel vision. But to me, tunnel vision is a we were really trying to get the guy. We were really trying to get the guy that did this, and we just got stuck on this one person, and we just couldn't. Everything was. And to me, that's a cop out. That's an excuse that they do not deserve. Oh yeah, did we read about gore and Death and Justice? But yeah, they didn't investigate Alexander Edwards, and they did not investigate Jeff Sellers, who are suspects. So, and this is something I've always wondered, and I can't remember where I read it, but I thought I read somewhere, could it have possibly, maybe it was Kathleen Zellner talking about, maybe Kathleen Zellner mentioned it. She was doing Elaine Taylor's deposition, but I wonder, I asked that question, or I wondered that question: could DNA survive in a washing machine? And somebody said, "Oh no, once it's washed." And I think that was Kim Davis actually that said that on Michelle Malkin's interview with her.
I believe Elaine Taylor said it in her deposition as well.
Yeah, I think so too. I really remember somebody else saying that. But Dr. Silkman, who I trust far more than anybody with DNA, says that DNA will survive several cycles in the washing machine. So there you go. So yeah, they didn't, Corey, they didn't investigate Alexander Edwards, and we know of his his sex with prostitutes. That's why he pled guilty to that charge, or he was charged with it. He pled guilty to something lesser, but at any rate, he was a perfect candidate for that as far as the description goes of Sherry Ellis's attacker.
Yeah, but if you think about it though, Rhonda, at the time of when this happened and what was happening there at the time, can you imagine what it would have been like if they arrested a black man for sexual assault of women? Because people have got to remember that this happened at the time. It was either just after the Ferguson riots or during it or something like that. And to me, Daniel is a political prisoner because they had to put somebody behind bars, and because it was black men and kids and things like that that were being shot in the street by white officers, the hype and the anger and everything like that that was happening at that time. I mean, God, they were shouting that if there was no justice, then there'd be no peace, you know. Right. And I reckon that if they had arrested a black man, even though two of the women said, especially one of them, that said it was a short black man who assaulted me, there would have been even more uproar than what there already was. And to me, Daniel is the scapegoat in this.
Right.
Absolutely. All they were really doing was just, collecting evidence that would support their narrative that they had created. And then they just started crafting a case and piling on victims.
Yeah.
I mean,
just that's right, Sheree. It did happen in Luke's case as well, with the DNA in the washing machine. If I'm remembering correctly, it was to do with the full DNA profile that was found on Jodie's T-shirt, which belonged to her sister's boyfriend at the time. But the only thing with that is they said that the clothes got mixed up in the wash. But the only thing with that is Jodie stayed in a completely separate house. Her washings were done in a completely separate house and everything like that. But it was an excuse that they tried to use for the DNA being on this T-shirt as it transferred in the wash.
Right. Corey and anybody else who's interested, there's a link that I don't recall put into the chat. It says Sherry Ellis video. It's a little clip that I put together that's got several different a phone interview with Sherry Ellis and Kim Davis, and then the in-office interview with Sherry Ellis and Kim Davis, and then some pretty interesting things that Sherry Ellis says in her deposition. So if you haven't watched it, I really think it would be I think you should watch it. It's very, very enlightening what Sherry Ellis says at the end of this video clip that's in the link. And then the Tabitha Barnes one is above. So if you haven't seen those, Corey, they're just very short. They're not very long. So you should just go ahead and grab those links and watch them. And, you might be pissed off even more, I'm sure. I know we always are. So.
Yeah. And I noticed that he's put it was a black woman who said it. Yeah, exactly. It was a black woman that said it. So if they didn't get anybody at that time, if they went after a black officer for assaulting a black woman, then that's discriminating against the black man and things like that. At the height of riots and buildings being burned and police shootings of black people, whether it be men, children, or women, because I've seen that happening as well. I don't think it would have mattered whether it was a black woman or a white woman who reported it, if they'd arrested a black man for this incident, it would have been 20 times, maybe 30 times as worse. I mean, know that it wasn't worse for Daniel, because the wee clips that I've seen of the way they were in the court and everything like that, it was disgusting, and they shouldn't have been allowed in that courtroom like that. Well, you know, outside in the corridor like that.
Right.
For what I've seen.
Right. Well, and there wasn't enough being done to, you know, to protect the jury from hearing those chants and all of that stuff either. It was just kind of poo-pooed away by the judge.
You know, and then as the case advanced, you know, and the detectives, they just were so focused. They just had such tunnel vision. They obviously did not understand DNA. I mean, I think they probably got their DNA education from television or something. And they just felt like, you know, oh, we got the DNA. That's why they stopped the photo lineups. They didn't need to do photo lineups anymore and chance the women not choosing Daniel because they had DNA. So, you know, they knew that DNA is very powerful evidence to a jury, and they really felt like they could convict him just with the DNA, especially because of its location. I mean, that just looks bad. It sounds bad. And then you get the media reporting it and putting their spin on it.
Yeah. And we all know how we feel about the media and their spins.
Yeah.
Yes, Corey, I know now. I understand what you're talking about. That it was a black woman who said it. Yes, that was Grace Franklin. She is or was the chapter or the organization organizer for that area. Who made that comment that you're talking about? And I misunderstood, but yes, and that was Grace Franklin. Yeah, we have bones to pick with her too.
she was, I think she and another woman were running a group called Artists for Justice. So they were organizing all of the protests and such.
Yeah, and she did. She said that that they would riot. They didn't know. She didn't know where they were going to riot because we can't riot in our own neighborhood. We're not going to riot in our own neighborhood and tear everything up. And you know,
they're not going to let us riot over here. Whatever
Yeah.
she meant over here, but I mean, I guess she meant downtown because that's where she made the comment.
Right. Yeah.
Which, to my point, they didn't want downtown torn up. I mean,
Right.
downtown, they had spent billions of dollars on downtown.
Right. What is that mall called? I can't think of what it's called all of a sudden.
Oh, Bricktown?
Bricktown. Yeah.
It's an area. It's like a district, I guess.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But you know, there's a ball field, professional ball field. There's they have the river. They use the river right there, and they have a whole facility alongside the Oklahoma River there where they are actually a Olympic training area. It's just unbelievable what downtown is compared to what it was in the 80s and 90s.
And they didn't. Yeah, and they weren't about to try to risk getting that torn up.
Well, they had really struggled to make downtown a place where people would want to hang out, where to make Oklahoma City have an area where employees of big businesses that they were trying to draw in to revive the economy in Oklahoma City. You know, Oklahoma City, people would come in and look at it as a potential place to live and say, I don't want to live there. There's nothing to do there. And it was true. It's not true anymore, but
Right.
they didn't want to start over with that. And the taxpayers voted for a sales tax that paid for all of those projects as they were being built. I think I don't know which phase, we're still going with the MAPS projects there. They're still improving downtown.
Yeah.
I think we're like on MAPS 4 now.
Wow, that's cool, but still,
It is cool,
not
but
at the expense of an innocent man's life, for sure. This is something I didn't know, that Roxanne has put in the chat. She said, take Ben Crump's brother, who is a police officer, black man. He was accused of charges like Daniel. The woman who made the claim was white, if she's not mistaken, and Ben Crump came out and stated it. And let's see, I wanted to get the follow up to that. And then she said it was consensual. In 2014, no one could speak out against a black person. The media wouldn't allow it. Right. Yeah.
well, you still can't.
Yeah, you still can't. Oh, no.
I mean, or you can't stand up for a police officer who's charged with any kind of, or accused of any wrongdoing, because you will be canceled.
Yeah.
People wonder why no one stood up for Daniel. His fellow officers didn't stand up for him because they didn't want to lose their jobs and livelihood. Other people didn't stand up for him because they didn't want to be canceled. They didn't want their business affected by it. And it's still that way. It's still a struggle to get people to just say that they support him. People support him secretly. That's not helpful.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to write a big ass check.
Right. Exactly. Yes, Cherie, you're absolutely right. Musney said very clearly that they didn't want to show the lineups anymore, the photo lineups, because they were afraid that the accusers would choose the wrong person. That's disgusting. That is just horrible. That is an indication, if nothing else is, that they had in mind, they already knew who they wanted convicted of the crime. And so let's see here. Corey says, I watched the different Michelle Malkin interview. It was a small man talking. It was funny when Kim said something, he would smack his head off the, wait, what? He would smack his head off the counter.
Oh, he's talking about, oh, what was that guy's name? He did a few videos.
Oh, Ferg or Freg or
yeah, the world of Ferg, I think.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he was hysterical. He was super crude, but
yeah,
that's okay with me.
it's fine with me.
I mean, it's not a universal piece of. It's not universal video that you could share with anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Diana Davison did a lot of good ones too.
Yeah, she really did a great job.
She's so smart.
Yeah. Yeah, and she did really well, representing Daniel and the thing that was funny with Ferg or Freg, whatever his name is, he didn't, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that he necessarily believed that, at least in the beginning of his, first videos, he didn't necessarily believe that Daniel was innocent, but he started, he just kept picking the world of Ferg. Yeah. And then eventually, he kind of comes down to, like these guys are the Oklahoma State, the city of Oklahoma. What is wrong with these guys? What is wrong with these people? I mean, you think it came through eventually that he believed, that Daniel was innocent and that, the state was just corrupt. But I got a kick out of watching all of his videos. I really did. Yeah, it's called Cherie. It's called The World of Ferg. You can just look that up in YouTube. But I don't know how many videos he did of other things or whatever. But uh, it's he did a good job on those. And Diana Davidson is brilliant. So if you if you want to see some more brilliant short videos, she does really good. Unlike me, at putting together really good complete thoughts, in just a very short period of time. So she's also a really good one to look at. So, excuse me. Oh, was that the one you're talking about, the questionable verdict? Yeah. Um, I'm curious, Corey. I think I saw in the chat earlier that you are in Canada. I'm just curious, what how you came to Daniel's case, and at what I mean. It's really kind of hard to put all that into chat, but um, I'm like he's just going to pop on here and start talking.
Corey, can you just give us your bio real quick and chat in 97 little chat messages? Come on, bust a move, Corey.
Come on. I'm just curious because I don't usually get very many new people that I'm not familiar with, at least the names. So I love it. I think it's great, and hopefully you've seen some of the other videos we've done, and you'll look at them and share them, and comment on them and things too, because that's really helpful. Because that's what we need to keep doing now, especially now, is oh, you saw it on YouTube, probably Daniel in the Den. I'm maybe just imagining. Usually that's where people get to Daniel's cases, from Michelle Malkin's Daniel in the Den series.
Or Bates podcast.
Or Bates podcast.
A lot of that.
Yeah.
Bates Investigates.
Yeah. Yeah. I've gotten so far into the case now, and I haven't even finished all of Brian Bates's podcasts, oddly enough. But
are you serious?
What's
wrong with you, girl?
I know, because I was listening to all of them, and then I started.
Oh wait, we don't have enough time for this.
Oh,
kidding. Teasing you.
But yeah, I started investigating and reading and researching, and stopped listening, as I was finding more information. So, oh, you didn't have to tell us your name, sweetie, but thank you. We really appreciate that. Corey's from Bellevue, Ontario, Canada. And you know what? It's also really, you're so nice. You don't have to do that, but that's really nice. But now that you're saying it, it's, we don't usually get a lot of male support, I guess I should say. Not that we don't have male support for Daniel, because we do, obviously, but it's usually, I guess most of my viewers are female. So, but anyway, welcome. And I'm really, really happy that you found us and that you're joining us. So, just share the videos, share what any, positive videos you can find on Daniel, for sure. I guess before we leave tonight, we should maybe give as much of an update as we have for Daniel. And I like to let Kay be the one to do that if she's on the panel with us, if you don't mind. Or
I don't have any. I haven't spoken to Daniel in almost 2 weeks, which is super weird for me. So I have a visit scheduled in a couple of days, but I don't have really anything to share. I know some of their privileges have been restored, as far as being able to have longer time in the gym. I know that he received a visit for 3 days this last week, which it's been quite a while since he's had an in-person visit. That's all I know. And I mean, as far as the case goes, the civil suit is still pending, and they are doing a settlement conference on, I think is it the 31st, guys?
Yes, yes.
I think it's the day of the month.
Yeah, it's the
And
31st.
so,
I remember.
okay, that's gonna determine whether this suit gets dropped. I mean, so the civil suit's on hold until that settlement conference takes place, which is pretty bizarre since Daniel is the only one that's technically left in that suit, that the accusers have, 11 of the accusers have filed. So why is the city of Oklahoma City participating in a settlement conference, and how much money are they going to offer these women when they've already been released from the lawsuit? If the taxpayers of Oklahoma City knew that, I would think they would be pretty mad. So that's happening. And then we're still working on his post-conviction application, which is due soon.
Right. I don't know why, but the 27th is in my mind, and I have no idea.
I had the 28th in my mind, but I do think it is the last day of the month.
Okay. Well, the settlement conference.
Right here.
The settlement conference is definitely the 31st.
Oh, okay.
I remember when that got postponed because I was like, a whole freaking month away? Why?
Are you saying the post-conviction application is due?
I thought it was due, but I really
wouldn't be surprised if it's that soon.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Okay. That's great. We appreciate that.
I'm going to jump off here real quick because today's Stacy's birthday. So.
Oh, happy birthday, Stacy. Tell him we said happy birthday.
I'll do it. All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Thanks, Kay. And we're going to go ahead and wrap up too. And like I said, I would like to get this out quicker than next week because I really I don't want to make everybody wait, a full week for more Gieger lies. But I'm telling you, it's I've been working on this for a couple of weeks pretty steadily, and it will take me the week, to get to the second part.
Yes, it is time consuming, Rhonda, trying to make videos and tiles and everything like that. I mean, I'm still learning and things like that. I mean, God, every film editor that I've downloaded so far has been rubbish or doesn't want to work on my computer. So I'm having to go back to square one because the ones that I did have, and like yourself, spent about a week doing the tiles and putting in the details and everything like that, and then I processed the video, and right across the bloody middle of the video is a watermark, and it's like, oh my God, really? I've just put all that time in and you gave me a watermark.
Oh no. That's why I just bought the Filmora program. It is spendy. But when I consider, if I were charging people to watch my videos, I would have already made that money back. But so it's not like arm breaking thing, and it's a year-long subscription to it, and so it's it's not horrible. But I bought the program because I just saw so much more that could be done, and I don't know what this says or if it even means anything, but I just am too much of a perfectionist to have had a watermark in the middle of anything. Like, no, everything else is perfect. Why are you giving me a damn watermark?
Well, when I was viewing it, there was no watermark there. So I rendered it and get ready to process it all, everything like that. And then went to view it, and there was a bloody big watermark across the front. I downloaded the free Filmora And that was really good, and I was really enjoying it. Uploaded the video, and right across the middle there was the Filmora watermark. I was like, well, you can go away, bye.
Oh no. Well, listen, put all your stuff together, what you want, and send it to me, and I'll import it into mine and get it, do it with no watermark for you. I don't know how we can do it, but however we can possibly do it.
I will find one.
I'd be happy to help. But I will get the second part out, and if for some weird reason I can get it done before next Wednesday, I will. But otherwise it'll be next Wednesday, and there'll be a lot more. Thank you, Corey. That is really nice. I really appreciate that. Oh, so that's exciting, making me blush. um, but it's there's going to be a lot more. If I weren't doing the subtitles, it would be a lot easier. Like, this would be a whole lot easier. But I think the subtitles, I mean, I don't know how people in chat feel, after having watched it, but I think the subtitles really brought it more to life. Oh, you too, Alice. Corey says that's really nice. Thank you, Corey. We really do appreciate that. But the subtitles are what I think really gave it a whole new life. Would you agree? Like
Yeah.
we've already watched the whole video, right? But then we put those subtitles in, and it's just like, now it's a whole new beast.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, you could only really hear some bits yet. Some bits it was muffled. Some bits it was quite low. So with having the subtitles there, you're actually near enough catching him word for word on what he's saying. Yeah. And it stands out more, Yeah. That was how I didn't pick up on him saying the first time round about Daniel supposedly raping this lassie at college. Yeah. It wasn't until I'd seen the subtitles and I was like, what? When? I didn't pick that up the first time.
I mean, I know that I picked it up the first time, but I didn't really pay a lot of attention. You know what I mean? Like and it was because I was so trying so hard to hear what was coming. So
yeah,
we'll hopefully that's helping doing the subtitles. But that is what it is. That's taking me the most time is the subtitles. So I will I'll keep working on it, starting as soon as we get done here this evening, and I'll get plenty of infuriating subtitles in for us for next time. So I want to thank.
What you maybe need to get yourself, Rhonda, is one of the wee tabletop punch bag things that you can get. It's like a wee inflatable. And just have it sitting, and then every time you're having to play his rubbish and his lies, just print out Gieger's face and have that on it and just punch it as you're doing it.
That's a good idea. That would be some good cardio and some good upper arm movement.
Yeah, sure would, to take your frustration out on that first, and then and get punch, and then get back in.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, she's you know what? I have I messaged. I do have some correspondence with Jenny. But she's still, first of all, Jenny's a brand new mom. I don't know if everyone knows that, but she has an infant. Well, I think she's probably about 6 months old by now, but still,
that's crawling and everything.
Yeah, she's a brand new mom, and she's very, very involved in Daniel's case. And so I have had some correspondence with her with what little bit of volunteer work I do, but she's really, really sweet lady, but she just really doesn't have very much time. And I know that I messaged her over a year and a half ago on her Facebook, and she still hasn't accepted my friend request, which is fine. It's no big deal, but it's I just know and she knows me. That's the thing. She knows me,
Yeah,
or she
yeah.
knows who I am. So
She'll be really busy, between the new baby and trying to keep up with things in the case and
yeah,
everything like that. And every time I go on the website or on Facebook, there's always new people coming in.
yeah,
I'm always seeing new names and people saying, "Oh, I've no long heard about Daniel's case, or I heard about it a wee while ago and I've been trying to keep up with following it. Thanks for adding me," and things like that. So there is new people coming each time to the Facebook group and everything like that.
yeah,
So yeah, she is a very, very busy lady, but hopefully she will get round to replying to you eventually.
yeah. Right. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody in our chat tonight. Thank you for coming back when I just kind of went MIA for a while and didn't really say much. There was really nothing to be said. I just needed to take care of some things, and it's kind of hard to convey. When I've had to take time off for things, it's not like I knew that ahead of time. They would just pretty much, something would come up, and
Family and life
yeah,
come first, Rhonda.
yeah,
Family and
yeah,
life come first. You don't
yeah,
need to give us any explanations or any reasons why you took time off. You needed time off, and that's what you done, and that's
yeah.
it. That's the end of it. You know what I mean? We're just happy to have you back.
Well, and it's good to be back again. I've left and I've come and gone several times. And if I do, I will get this next video out for next week. If I'm not, that I'm dedicated to for sure. But uh, you know, um, if I do, I'm just going to say it. And for those that are in chat right now and anybody who watches this later, if I disappear, I'm fine. I just have something that I have to take care of, and it's just something that can't wait, or that. So if I go away again for an extended period of time, if you're in my Discord or in Foul Plays Discord, they will always know, if I've come and gone or something. What's the most important thing though is that you guys are all coming back, even though it's been several weeks since I put anything out, and I really, really appreciate Shaz. Hi, sweetheart. It's good to see you. We're just wrapping up. And Corey, of course, you're absolutely welcome. I want to engage with my my audience, and
Yes.
I always love hearing new things and uh, ideas, comments, so you're absolutely welcome. And I'm always happy to do that. That's very important to me. Um, and but thank you very much, Dr. Silkman. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate. And so, Shaz, I hope you can go back and watch the video. I think I know it's going to piss you off. I have no doubt in my mind. But I just wanted like to remind everyone, to like and share my videos, comment. I love comments. I try to get to the comments as much as I can. And I've got somebody that's I can't remember which videos. I think it's the Tabitha Barnes ones that I did recently, a month or so ago, back in February. She that's not, I want to say, arguing with me. He definitely believes Daniel is guilty, and I wish I could recall his name at this point, but I don't. But if you guys want to chime in and you know help me, with some of those comments too on my videos, I always appreciate that too. And I only ask that we try to be respectful with one another, and you know, um, no name calling or anything like that, because we all have opinions. And some of us believe Daniel's innocent and others believe he's not. And you know what? That's okay. My goal is to get supporters for Daniel and to show the non-believers that Daniel's innocent. And, that's our goal. And, well, our bigger goal is getting Daniel out of prison because he doesn't belong there. But we do that by, sharing as much information as we have and as we can. So you guys are all really helpful with me for doing that as well. So thank you to all of you, Dark Side, Corey, Dr. Silkman, Shaz, I don't recall, our William, TTM Fangirl, I know was here earlier. And I hope I didn't miss anybody. Roxanne, thank you guys all for being here and listening again tonight. And check back next Wednesday because we're going to hopefully finish up. Depends on how many lies I uncover. um, but we're going to finish up with the lies of Gieger. Yes, Dr. Silkman, I will be back this weekend with Uncle Kenny, dirty Uncle Ken. So we should. I'm going to be back in. I do want to let everybody know I had a job, not an interview today, but I did go back to the place I was working before I moved to California, and it was always a plan to go back to this place when I got back after my mom passed away, but I didn't have a chance because I kept having more and more, and you guys all know all the stories, and so I never did get back to them and talk about going back to work, but I did go do that today. And so I'm just waiting to hear back and, what they have to offer. And since the pandemic, they've raised their starting wage for house managers, which is what I was and what I would like to go back to, by about $4.50 an hour. So I'd be crazy not to do that, right?
Yeah.
So it will keep me really busy, between working on Daniel's case and working in that job because it's a pretty demanding job. But I'll be there for Uncle Ken on Saturday and for Just Rhonda on Wednesdays and, for whatever else I can help out with in any other areas. So yeah, big raise, really nice raise. Although, it's a nice raise, but I don't know how it'll probably still just keep me right at the,
That'll pay the bills.
The lower middle class at this point, but that's okay.
It'll keep your heating on. That's the main thing. It'll keep your heating on.
It'll keep the heat on and food on my belly and some gas in the car. So, but anyway, Alice, thank you so much for being with me today. And everybody, like I said, everyone in chat, thank you as always for coming back. And until next Wednesday, peace out.